April 14, 1912, 11:40 p.m. The world's largest ship, the Titanic, hit an iceberg. The iceberg hit the side of the ship and water started to go inside the ship. So how did the iceberg manage to do the impossible and sink the ship that was so-called unsinkable? Well, when the ship collided with the iceberg, it hit the side of the ship and water started to overflow everywhere. The engines eventually stopped working and the captain couldn't control the ship anymore. There was so much water everywhere on the ship, it had sunk because the ship couldn't hold that much of it anymore. Why weren't that many people rescued during the sinking? Well, since the people that built the ship thought it was unsinkable, they only had 20 lifeboats on the ship. Most of the people on the lifeboats were women and children. Their husbands were all left on the Titanic. Since there was not much time to survive this sinking, the husbands put their wives and children on the lifeboats. The lifeboats could only hold up to half of the 2,200 passengers and crew members. In the couple of years of building the Titanic, the people that built it could have at least put more lifeboats on the ship. Some things you might want to know about the Titanic is that it took about 2+ years to build. The ship was approved on July 29, 1908. It was ready on March 31st, 1912, and the fitting of the Titanic was completed. 3 days later, the Titanic began sea trials. The next day, it arrived in Southampton. People in Southampton started boarding the Titanic, and the Titanic was ready to sail. A few hours after leaving Southampton, the Titanic reached Cherbourg, France, and picked up more passengers. The next day, the Titanic reached Queenstown, Ireland. That was the last place to pick up passengers, and the Titanic was ready to head to its destination, New York City. 2 days later, on the 14th of April, there were iceberg warnings throughout the day. A few hours later, after the warnings, the Titanic hit an iceberg and it slowly sunk. About half of the passengers died during the sinking, and it was one of the worst tragedies that happened in American history. The Titanic sinking will always be remembered.